Hello everyone and welcome back to the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project. It's me, Captain Logan, and joining me tonight as always now is Austin, TheDayGhost. It's my sidekick, and Austin, thanks once again for popping in to watch and discuss a superhero movie.
Yeah, what you guys don't know is that Cap tortured me and electrocuted me, and then in the future, way down the line when Cap's dead after I've killed him, he'll be able to take over my body. That's how we set it up.
Yeah, but that's only after we filmed it, and then we're worried that we would bother parents, so we actually did it all over again. Because in the first place, I shot him with a gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the opposite. Actually, I guess not the opposite of the special edition with Star Wars. It was a little too much having me shoot you directly. So
yeah.
we digitally had you do the the neck shift.
Yeah, because you imagine if the censored version of this was also just shove a whole bunch of stuff in the foreground. Whereas, do you notice that in the action sequences in Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, if you watch the censored version as opposed to the PG-13 version, got so many more flying cars in the opening sequence, just all over it.
Well, it was really weird. Joker's like, "Do it, my son, kill Batman," as he's shooting his own gun at little Joker, who shoots him back in retaliation. Very awkward.
Yeah, at least we don't have a Robin shot first kind of situation,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
exactly.
where if one version Joker made a move and then Robin attacked him, and then the other version it was Robin the first. At least there's no argument to be had that way. It's just a matter of whether you like the more violent version or not. And there is there's some kind of it does kind of change up thematically some of what is happening. So we'll certainly talk about the different versions and what was changed and which one we prefer and why. That's always the big conversation folks want to have with this. By the way, we're talking about Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker tonight. It's one of my favorite animated Batman movies, and I'm very excited to talk about it again. It's been a good long time, and I've done one commentary on this in the past when we did Batmania, but it's been a good long time, and I didn't prepare for that one. So I've watched the movie again and listened to commentary and done a little bit of research, and all ready to go. Austin, you alluded to this before we started broadcasting, but I'm with you. I don't understand why the face is green. Why is the face green?
Yeah, I've never understood
on the cover.
That. It always confused me as a kid because I always went, "Oh, it's the future, so he's green now." And then I watched the movie and he's not.
No, not at all.
And I also don't understand that line of logic either, that he would just be green in the future. But I don't know, kids think stupid things.
I don't guess it would have been a terrible way to go.
Yeah, it would have been something different, I guess. It
could have looked cool. Although, riddle me this, if his face is green, what color is his hair? Is it black?
It's white.
Oh, it's white hair. Oh,
because he's old. Yeah.
Okay, that's actually a really good call.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought, oh, not always, because like I said, I explained what I thought as a kid, but now I always think about it as like Batman Beyond in front of the Wicked Witch of the West, because it's also got like the pointed nose.
Yeah. And
It's got
then
that look.
he gets electrocuted. He's like, I'm melting.
Yeah, exactly.
Code Geese Anime Fan says, I think the green face is just for style. Yeah, but why, though? Like, so how is this more stylized than if he just looked like he does in the movie? It was just a white face.
I guess.
Like, is it some kind of contrast thing? Is it like if the
That's what I'm
face is
gonna
going to be behind the Batman Beyond suit? Well, anyway, we should start watching the movie. So as always, we're going to watch the movie and talk about it with you. If you want to watch it with us, and we encourage you to do that, you can pull up your Blu-ray, your DVD. You can get it on still Max now. I believe it's I didn't watch it that way. I actually just recently procured this disc for this video. I've had the DVD forever and watched the PG-13 version on Max not too long ago, like I don't know, maybe a year or two ago. Believe it or not, Austin, for the first time. Like, I had seen...
Really?
Yeah. For years and years and years, I'd always heard about the differences, and I had seen the major scene differences in YouTube videos, but I never got my hands on it. And
That's fascinating. I have the reverse. I think I've seen the censored version like maybe once.
Yeah, that's how most people watch it now.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how it's more readily available these days. But of course, I saw it when it first came out, and it was 2 years before you could even get the censored version, or the uncensored version. So for the longest time, I didn't even realize it existed.
Yeah.
And then it was one of those kind of, early internet kind of what I thought were rumor mill kinds of talk about it, where it was like, oh, did you know that there's this crazy alternate version of Return of the Joker where Robin, like Joker Kid, shoots the Joker with a gun? And I'm like, there's no way they put that in a kid's movie.
You're like, yeah, and there's a naked code for Tomb Raider. Yeah, okay.
It turns out conspiracies do exist, folks. Anyway, so as always, we're going to do our level best to give you some context in case you're not watching the movie with us for our discussion. And we didn't actually get any tweet-linked reviews this time for this, so when we get to the end, we won't be here for as long, probably. But if you are watching live right now and you want to put in either tweet-linked reviews for the end via Super Chat, or you want to make sure that we talk about in any particular aspect of the movie, or just make your opinion known, you can leave a Super Chat in any dollar amount. That'll guarantee that we talk about your comment, but you can also leave regular comments as we go along, and we'll try to knock out a few of those as well. Here we go. Make sure to get your movie past all the menus to timestamp 0 and get ready to press play as soon as I say now. Austin, are you ready, sir?
Yep. For some reason, this doesn't have like black before the movie. Like I'm on timestamp 0 and I have like part of the WB logo. That's weird. But
okay, apologies, guys, because we had too much preamble, and I've been trying not to have a lot of preamble on the show, but I failed this time, and so my Blu-ray player has already shut down on me, and now I have to pull the movie back up.
Gotta love technology.
We're off to a terrific start. AMC cap on the PG-13 version. There's a different commentary with Bruce Timm and company. Yeah, I'm sure I listened to that in preparation for the first rewind I did years ago, but I did not listen to that one this time. I listened to the one for the PG-13 version, and we'll talk about that because it's really interesting listening to them talk about this just after they finished it and before they've put it out, because they don't know that they're going to have to do more work on this and that they're going to have to do a censored version.
Oh, that's fascinating.
They think they're about to just put this out.
Done.
Yeah. And it got delayed. It was supposed to come out Halloween that year, and it came out closer to Christmas.
Ah, that's crazy.
Isn't it?
Yeah, this was, I think...
Well, I said I had something interesting to say about that later. That was the thing, so I've said it now. I'm sorry, what was that?
I think I've talked about this before, but like our version of Cartoon Network, Teletoon on Saturday nights at like 9 or 8 o'clock, I think they do like a big movie every week, and this was one of the ones they would go to often. It was like this, Spawn, the first two Men in Blacks,
Oh, interesting.
for a lot of the stuff they went to. Yeah, and it was always the PG-13 cut. That's why I didn't know it was censored for the longest time.
Okay,
Or
let's
that
go
there was.
ahead and get into this. And let me also mention, by the way, for folks watching live, that we're going to be doubling these up tonight, and we're going to do Superman Doomsday right after this. So if you want to stick around with us for that, that'll be in a separate stream. And speaking of what you were just talking about, Austin, I also found out today, and I didn't know this, that Superman Doomsday had like a super heavily edited version for TV.
I know. I want to see what that.
I want to see what that looks like. Yeah.
Because that is like the most
like egregiously adult thing.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that later on. Okay, get ready to press play when I say now. Timestamp 0, and here we go. Everybody, please press play right now. And watching this on the newer Blu-ray, it's just a gorgeous transfer. Never got to see it this clear before, so that was a treat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got that Blu-ray when you guys did Batmania back in the day.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure how old it was. So, I want to ask you actually straight out, Austin. How well do you imagine this movie watches if you are not at all familiar with the TV show?
I mean, I can answer that really well because this was the only thing of the series that I knew until we did that 24-hour stream and you showed me the pilot. I think it works really well. It helps.
Honestly, I'd forgotten that you didn't have any experience with the show before that.
It helps that it's so connected to Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
And I think that might be why I've never gravitated to this in the same way I do with Mask of the Phantasm, is that I don't have that connection to Batman Beyond. So like I do come at this more for the animated series kind of finale stuff than I do the Batman Beyond aspect.
I know lots of folks that watched this movie without Beyond that probably never went back and looked at Beyond, didn't have any trouble getting into this, and I think it's really successful as a standalone piece. And I think it gives you just what little you need about the status quo of this world and Terry McGinnis's background, and some of it is kind of blink and you miss it, but I don't think you need very much. I think it's effective in how minimalistic it is for a new audience, and I think it's smart right out the gate to kind of introduce you to this world and say, okay, we're in the future. We have a different Batman, and he is quippy, and of course that's going to be important later. But he is a little bit Spider-Man-like. And it's not very long before you start getting, elderly Bruce Wayne, and it very quickly peels the curtain back and gives you enough of what you maybe came here for or are familiar with if you were an animated series fan, to get you acclimated and comfortable. But I think starting right off, there were a couple different ways to open this, Austin. This is kind of the typical DCAU and then later DC direct-to-video way to open a movie, which is just huge bombastic action sequence that may or may not have anything to do with the rest of the movie. This certainly is related to the rest of the movie, but it is kind of just a big fun action scene.
Well, I think one of the things that makes this easy for people to watch is that I think it just feels like an episode of a TV show. So like it feels like you're kind of coming in and you're just getting an idea of what the show is, as opposed to something like Mask of the Phantasm, which is a bit more, for lack of a better word, cinematic in that way.
Yeah, that's true, but this movie is also, it's made for video. The home video department of Warner Brothers actually asked them to make this in the first place, so right away they know that they're making it for that, and that there's probably no chance that, unlike Mask of the Phantasm, this ends up winding up in the movie theater.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a super cinematic movie, but they weren't initially designing it for that. That's a lot of T's. I don't know why there's so many T's coming down that that tunnel, but anyway,
the Teen Titans building.
That's a really good point you're making, though. But like, as TV as it is, it's as pretty as anything they ever made. Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I say it's like it's very TV, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like it does feel like you're watching just more of that show.
it brings you in. It could be your first episode of the show.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And maybe not a bad place to start if you aren't in love with this premise, because you kind of get your, Batman Beyond fighting a big Batman villain out of your system, and then
And you do
you
that
and then you can
pilot
start
thing.
appreciating his rogues gallery and stuff.
And you do that pilot of a spin-off thing too, where we get to see part of the old show as well in this. So like there is that kind of handing off the baton with that.
Yeah, could we go as far as to say that you could have even done something like this premise as the pilot for this show?
Yeah, I think so.
And I love the pilot. I'm not saying that that's what it should have been, and it would have been a very different show if you'd done that, because you'd be starting right away with this huge character arc for both Terry McGinnis and Bruce Wayne, where they both come to appreciate Terry as his own Batman and see him as not a Batman sidekick or as much of a protege, but legitimately the actual new Batman.
Well, that's part of why it could be
one
a
of
pilot.
one of the things that's most sorry, Ozzy. One of the things that's most interesting and engaging about that show is the way that Terry and Bruce Wayne don't see eye to eye and are at loggerheads so much. So I wouldn't want to start here in that sense, but I do think you could have maybe started that show with, okay, we're going to get big villain out of our system and then let him go his own way.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's got that pilot thing in the sense that like we're seeing him earn his stripes essentially.
Some really ambitious kind of camera moves and stuff
Mhm.
with this movie that make it a little bit more cinematic than the TV show. But the point I started making a couple minutes ago is a couple different ways you could open this. You could do it like that, or you could, in order to bring in the fans of the old show and, the revamp, of course, that the style of the flashbacks is in, New Batman Adventures, might have been to actually open on a flashback.
Yeah, where you open with probably not the flashback that we get later, but something involved with that.
Yeah. Or give us the first part of it. You just start it with kind of like Under the Red Hood or something, where you start with, here's Robin having a big adventure, he's having a good time, and of course there's a lot of Jason Todd in this, and we'll have to talk about that. But like, he's off on a fun adventure, and then he gets kidnapped. And then cut to credits, and it's Batman Beyond. Or we cut to Terry McGinnis, and there's some kind of paralleling adventure that he's doing that says blatantly, he's not Robin, he's Batman. That kind of thing. But what I like about the way it's actually handled is it puts the Batman Beyond business up front, and it is very much Terry McGinnis's story more than it is Bruce's. I've said this before, you certainly could make the case for dual protagonist in that elderly Bruce Wayne does get an arc that is very related and intertwined with McGinnis's arc, but it is McGinnis's movie before it's his. And I had this thought for the first time watching it the other day, Austin. It's Creed, right?
See, while you were saying that, I thought of a different thing, which is it's a good version of Star Trek Generations.
Sure. Okay, how did you go to the Star Trek place and I went to the Rocky place?
I know. It's like we flipped.
We should talk for just a second, because we talked over it, the really minimalistic opening credits. By the way, the model of Two-Face that gets his head knocked off is not in the uncensored version.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, I guess, because he's like decapitating someone.
Yeah, so that was a thing that I'd never seen before.
I feel like with the PG-13 thing, if you were going to do what you suggested and doing the Robin intro, you would probably have some of that Joker, like Robin torture stuff be the like credits, right? Like you'd see like flashes of that over the credits.
Oh my god, that would be so dark too.
It would be so dark, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also effective that we're almost lulled into a false sense of security with this. Like, I think that opening sequence does a good job of establishing tone, especially in this uncensored version, because the violence is already a little bit rougher than what you would be used to, even with Batman Beyond, which is arguably maybe a little bit more rough and tumble than the animated series was. And right away kind of tells you a little bit of what you're in for, but you're supposed to be shocked by just how far we go with the demented Joker plot and some of the disturbing images that you're going to get, not just in the flashback, but even in the present day stuff. When, like, even just Joker's introduction, we go to darker places than typically we're allowed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. How do you feel about Mark Hamill playing this Wayne Industries guy? Like, I get that it's supposed to be a
red herring,
but I also find it a little distracting because they don't play enough into that as a red herring. It takes me out a little bit.
Yeah, it's very superficial in the way it's trying to get you off the beaten path. I think the red herring, and this weirdly has actually quite a bit in common with Mask of the Phantasm, in its approach to the mystery and particularly that in trying to get you off the trail. But and even certain like images of the Joker and people with like laughing gas and stuff. There's a weird amount of Mask of the Phantasm in it, and the way that it hinges not on several flashbacks like Phantasm does, but this has kind of the same thing where it's like there's this period in Batman's history that everybody's curious about, and the main story is going to really hinge on that, and it's going to change our understanding of Batman as a character and propel his character arc massively. So I don't know. While we're there, I wanted to make that point real quick. It is a good follow up to Phantasm in that way, and I think they watch really nicely back to back. I've done that before. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's retread. Like, I think it's just taking some of what worked with the structure of that and doing it again. But anyway, I thought that was a little bit more effective with the guy that you're supposed to think is maybe Phantasm in that. Because with this, it's like, well, his character model looks a little bit Jokerish, in the shape of the face, and he's kind of like Blight in that he is wanting to take control of Wayne Enterprises, and the last guy that did that was our big bad for a whole season. So if you're familiar with Beyond, you're probably, it's making you, it's wanting you to think that that's what's going on. And besides that, in Hamill's voice, that's kind of where the expectation of it begins and ends. It's too obvious of a wrench, herring. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of what distracts me about it is that, I've seen Hamill do other things. So, like, in the Spider-Man 90s cartoon, his Hobgoblin is just like a slight variant of his Joker voice, and his Robert Kingsley is a slight variant of this voice, like for that Price guy. So I'm like, I don't know, like it takes me out a little bit. I'm too like lost into how the sausage is made, I think, with that as a choice.
Now, having said that, when I was a kid and I first saw it, I was shocked and dismayed when I finally learned that was Hamill, because somehow I didn't catch it.
Oh, and I probably didn't catch it as a kid either.
I know somebody's going to expect me to bring this up, so I'll just mention Rosenbaum real quick. Interesting that, and of course, he did a lot of voiceovers for them. And
I didn't realize he was in this movie.
He mostly did Flash, but yeah, he's Ghoul. He's the Scarecrow-looking guy.
Oh,
and
okay.
He is doing his silly impression of Christopher Walken.
Oh, yeah, I did not catch that was Rosenbaum. Interesting.
And if you go listen to his podcast where he's constantly doing that voice, you'd be able to tell.
Oh, okay.
that's who that is. But significantly, this comes out just a year before he gets Smallville.
Oh, okay. We should also probably mention, too, because this is Bruce Timm, Joker's hideout is a reference to Jack Kirby, because there's Jack Kirby stuff all over Bruce Timm's work. That's just like a cool thing to point out.
So the bit where he looks at the camera and says, "Oh wait, dead." That is also not in the censored version.
Yeah, I
And
imagine. Does he even shoot him in the censored version?
I don't remember. I think he does, but maybe they don't show as much of it.
Yeah, there's definitely not that close up of his lifeless eyes.
Yeah, which is hilarious. It's wonderfully disturbing. What do you think of Joker's character model in this? And oh, I'm sorry, real quick before we get to that,
Yeah.
I started to make a point a minute ago about the opening credits. Do you like the minimalism of just it's on black? Because that also feels super TV, and the only reason it happened was because they ran out of time. They were going to do a slightly more complex opening titles, and they just... Tim mentions that in his commentary. They just ran out of time. They couldn't do anything else.
That's interesting, because I did, rewatching this, think, like, oh, I wish they did something for the credits. So that makes sense that they just ran out of time.
Oh, discussing topics says that Joker just shoots gas at that guy.
Oh.
That may in the censored version. That makes sense.
That makes more sense.
What I was thinking this time around, Austin, was if I've got, maybe they just didn't have very much money to make the edits they were kind of forced to make, but like if you've got to wait 3 months to put the movie out, I would feel like maybe one of your conditions, if you were able to have any, for making those changes would be, well, could we go ahead and take the time to add some backgrounds to the credits? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got time now. Can we go ahead and do that?
Yeah, what are you doing, Bruce Timm?
Now, are you aware of this? The reason that happens, that you get the censored version, is because just before they were going to put this out, Columbine had happened.
No, I didn't. Interesting. I assumed it
Well,
was
I
just...
say that Columbine was actually a couple of years before this, wasn't it? But like, I don't know. Sensitivity, because of that, had a lot to do with that. What's weird is,
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know, maybe somebody above the pay grade of Tim and the home video department looked at it and made that decision, because home video, according to Bruce Timm, had already, kind of acting as standards and practices because it's not going on television, they were already asking for a number of changes, even, from the initial work print. So there's a lot of... slightly more violent things that happen, maybe a little bit more blood here and there. That was taken out. I know that there's in that flashback, the table where the Joker has all of those kind of gnarly tools. It used to be like when he's about to unveil Robin. There used to be a lot more like screwed up, like jagged tools and things.
Oh, okay.
And they ended up replacing them with like plungers and silly stuff like
silly
that.
Jokes. I think I knew that they censored that stuff. So yeah, that makes sense for what this is. And then you asked me about the Joker design.
Yes, I'm gonna get back to that.
I've never been sure how I feel about the Joker design. It definitely feels like what you would do with an older Joker look, especially with the short hair. Part of me, I guess, likes the minimalism of his outfit, and then part of me doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very mixed on it.
I'm kind of like that too. I like everything about the face. I got no issues whatsoever with the slick back hair and the way the lips are kind of somewhere between now the two series, the first two series.
Yeah.
Because I never liked the lipless Joker from the new Batman Adventures.
Yeah, I don't like that design at all, and I feel like when we go back to the flashbacks, we fix that design a lot. We make the design that he should have had when we did that.
I think, well, first of all, the face makes a lot of sense because, like he's older, he's got some lines on his face, but it's because he's actually inhabiting somebody else's body.
Yeah, he's someone else.
And he's inhabiting somebody else's body with shorter hair. So, like, that's the reason he looks like that, which gives you clues to what's going on, maybe. So I like that about it. If he had too elaborate of a costume, we might kind of question the digital possession of Tim Drake.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think part of it with the design is it looks like a cross between Joker and Neo to me, like the like black outfit he's got, you know. So it feels very of the time, and
that's a really good point.
I just kind of look at it and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
But then contrasting it with our Batman, we have a much sleeker, toned
That's the
down
thing
Batman
too, is
suit
that
also.
Batman Beyond in general is very of the time, so I can't really like harp on it for that. Like
Yeah.
it's of the era that it was made. You know, it's no different than like 50s sci-fi. Like it is what it is.
I think that what I like about it, because I'm with you, I've always been of two minds about it too. Just not doing anything with the outfit, but just making it kind of straight black. I guess what I do like about it is it's mysterious and it just seems wrong. Like, my problem with it is it seems wrong. What works about it is it seems wrong, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's both a con and a positive for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it also kind of screams he's the Joker, but he's not the Joker. So again, giving you kind of this mysterious sense of the man. Like, the Joker definitively did die, and this is a copy of his personality that has inhabited a microchip and possessed another person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. He is a bit.
So all of that is there from the get-go. Like, whether you like that decision, we'll talk about that as we go. Whether you like how he comes back or not, at least when you get the reveal, you're not scratching your brain going, okay, did all roads lead there? Like, it clearly was that all along. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel retroactive.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I wish they did too after his initial scene is go back to that like real stylized shadow work with his eyes.
Yes.
I love that in this first scene. I wish we did more of that after that. It looks really cool.
There's still a decent amount of it though. You'll get some of that again later, and I just like the kind of haunting pupilless eyes.
Well, I just love like the glowing Terminator eyes in the dark.
I like how elderly
so
Bruce
cartoony.
Wayne
I love it.
is sitting at his desk and at his big computer, and he has to remind himself that the Joker died, just for the audience. Like, the only information on the screen at that point is, here's a couple of pictures of the Joker from different eras, and he's dead.
Yeah, he's like 80. He's a little confused. He's falling and he can't get up. That's later. That's when he gets hit by the gas.
That's right. I've fallen and I can't stop laughing. Let's go ahead and talk about this right now. How do you feel about the way he comes back? Like, do you like it as a choice, or do you find your imagination going to more plausible, or what you might think are more interesting directions? Like, I like the line that Terry has in the car where he's kind of eliminating all the things they didn't do, where like they know that is it a clone, is it a robot, like
all the stuff that it could be.
They know the audience is going through all the possible sci-fi permutations, and they really just kind of picked the one they didn't mention. So, besides Lazarus Pit or something?
I've never loved the chip thing, and I've never loved the giant laser plot. Like, those are, I think, two of the big things that have kind of kept me, like, especially like as a kid, from looking at this as a Phantasm movie, where there's just like too many things in it where I'm like, I don't know, I'm not as into that. I think the weird
Why
thing
specifically
with the chip,
is it too cartoony? Is that the part of it where it becomes too much of a TV episode?
So with the chip, it's weird. So I think part of it is that it's not Batman Beyond tech, like it's tech from the animated series, and I feel like that's going too far.
How does he develop it?
Yeah, like I don't understand how that works.
He's a chemist before he's anything. He's like the Jackie Napier from '89. He develops the Joker toxin, but has he ever been good with like computers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, I feel like it's a step
I mean,
too
he's
far.
had robots and things.
And that's the weird thing, too, is that you go to the animated series and it's like, okay, but we did, like, sci-fi things. Like, Um, I think it's Cadmus, right? That with like all the robots and whatnot in the
Yeah.
animated series, but I feel like it's too far in this. And maybe it's because we're in the future with the future tech, and there's a big future tech thing in the film that has nothing to do with the future, and maybe that's why it stands out so much. I'm not really sure.
Well, I think ultimately don't mind the choice, but I kind of wish it didn't just come from the Joker's mind. I just kind of have a hard time buying that, and it would be cool if it was connected to like a company or some kind of technology like from the show that happens later, and or is sort of like
Oh, chat's saying he stole it from Cadmus.
is that in the movie?
Oh, they say it's confirmed in epilogue.
Okay, but it's not in the movie. So retroactively, that's better, but it really ought to be here. And I was just gonna say, sort of like 2099, I would, had Alchemax, and then later Marvel Comics would start doing Alchemax like leading up to 2099. It'd be cool if we did something like that with this.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know what exactly, and or connect it to some like computer and robot, more futuristic technology that we really did have in the animated series. What if it was somehow related to Hardak or something? I had that thought.
Yeah, it'd be at least something.
Because we've had an AI before. So, like, the leap from that to being able to imprint an actual consciousness onto a computer chip, like, I can see that leap, and maybe even before Batman Beyond. So I don't think it's a bridge too far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not sure about it. It's weird.
So we've got a few super chats. I'll get to those here in a second. We haven't. I don't want to get too far away from the blowout that McGinnis and Bruce Wayne just had, talking about their relationship and some thematic stuff. Real quick, I got to ask you this question. So Bruce is here synthesizing an antidote to. God, we're just going to be behind this whole movie talking about stuff. He's synthesizing an antidote to the laughing toxin. to the Joker toxin, the laughing gas. He's kind of lucky that Joker is using that in this plot, because he doesn't always go to that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a little bit curious that was the first thing he started doing was, well, just in case that comes up again, I better start, synthesizing this.
Would have been jokes on him if instead of that it was Captain Clown that came down and just beat him up.
Captain Clown 2! The Wrath of Clown!
This time he kills you!
He killed Captain You! And then I have another question. One of my favorite shots of the movie is
absolutely
the disturbing Joker face in Bruce Wayne's face. This is such new territory for the series, and was real shocking first time around. Like, just having really validated this as an idea. Because let me backtrack for a second and say the most obvious thing you could possibly do for a Batman Beyond movie is finally bring in the Joker, right? Like, it kind of on paper seems like potentially a bad idea for the same reason.
Funny because this isn't what it was supposed to be originally.
And it was
supposed to be a Catwoman movie.
Yeah, and they also were talking about doing some kind of like Arkham thing.
Oh, okay.
Where they'd finally do like Arkham Asylum and Batman Beyond or something.
Yeah.
I think is what I read.
Okay.
Unless that was supposed to be some other animated Batman thing that wasn't Beyond, but like would have been in place of this. Would have been in this slot, and ultimately this is what they ended up going with. But I was going to say, for the same reason that they were really smart to not make every episode or even very many episodes. Here's a rogue from Batman's past, and now McGinnis is going to fight 85-year-old Mad Hatter this time. Oh, that's the other thing. It could have been related to Mad Hatter tech, It could have been related to Enigma Tech.
Yeah, Mad Hatter makes the
The
most
most sense.
sense, I guess.
I think so too. Well, brain manipulation
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
with like perchance to dream and stuff.
yeah.
Yes, like not exactly the same technology, but makes more sense than guy that synthesized laughing gas can do that. Yeah, if he stole it from Cadmus, whatever. But again, and I had forgotten about that. But I also don't like Epilogue. Let me just go on record real quick and mention that.
What's the most controversial thing in the DCAU?
It is.
And that whole thing that everybody hates came from that Catwoman pitch for this movie.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it's real weird, man. I was reading about it. So apparently the idea was that Catwoman becomes obsessed with Batman and starts cloning him, and you find out.
I did read about that.
Yeah, that Terry's one of them. But the pitch I also read said that one of them was her son, and there would be like flirting between her and her son.
What?
Like, yeah. Ooh. It's like, I don't know.
Bruce Timm is better off reeled in, folks.
Yeah, we'll see that next film.
Yes, we will. Let me go ahead and read down these super chats real quick, and then
definitely.
I'll get back to what I was going to talk about a minute ago. Real quick, Brightburns just put in a $2 super chat and said, I got Batman Returns SNES booklet, has rental stickers. That's cool. Tom, $2 super chat, I love the Burger King toys for this movie. I forgot this had a Burger King tie-in. And I never played the video game either, but I heard it was awful.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it had a game either.
It had a 64 game. And maybe PS1.
Maybe, because Animated Series has some no, that comes later, because there's some stuff on PS2.
That
so
comes later.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like Vengeance and stuff. That's after.
Not to make this whole commentary just about pointing out the differences between the two cuts, but
they do not show Ace the Bat Hound injured in the PG
no,
cut?
I think maybe they do, actually. But
okay.
When he goes into the Bat Cave, the Haas are purple instead of red.
Okay.
Because...
there's an implication of blood.
They felt like it looked too much like blood.
Yeah.
And Bruce Timm in his commentary, again, they're talking about this thinking that they're just going to put this cut out. And he's like... You know, now that we're just looking at this again, I guess I could see people maybe thinking that looks like blood, and then he was like, that's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, you painted Haas around the Batcave with Bruce's blood.
The one of, if not the best ideas with this movie, I think, is the Joker trying to get his like final comeuppance on Batman and like play out their relationship, their big dance, get to the big denouement by creating a perverse parody of Batman and the Bat family specifically. And everything he does that is most disturbing in this is disturbing because it's a like terrifying perversion of Batman. So like Batman getting on the laughing gas himself, which we've actually seen at least an image of before. It wasn't really Batman, but when you go back to Laughing Fish,
I was going to mention that too. Yeah,
you actually see a guy in the Batman cowl doing that, but it turns out that Batman has switched places with someone.
Yeah, no, and they're both very like dark and horrifying images for kids, where you go like, oh man, that's scary.
Yeah,
and then obviously with Laughing Fish, it's not actually Batman, but you think it is because it's the costume, and then here it just is Batman.
Yeah, it's just these dark perversions of Batman. He is no nonsense. He doesn't laugh at anything. He takes the world seriously, and he is trying to save everyone. And Joker is the opposite of that. He's happy-go-lucky and the scariest thing ever. And it's I think actually really important that you get that image of elderly Bruce Wayne laughing like that when you get to the end. And Terry has that speech about how Joker always wanted to make Batman laugh. And then, of course, you have the perversion of Robin and his turning Tim Drake into his own little Joker kid, which in its way, Austin, I think is actually almost worse than killing Jason Todd.
Yeah,
I really do. Like, I think this is more effective, an almost more effective, like, translation or, like, loose adaptation of Jason Todd than the initial Jason Todd death.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go that far?
Well, so somebody in the questions I remember reading asked if this is more messed up than Killing Joke and Jason Todd.
Oh,
And
I missed that.
and
I'll read through some of those by the end at least.
Yeah, for sure. And I've never been sure about that.
Yeah.
Part of it is because it's both of those things mixed into one.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things I feel like I can't answer. Like, it is in the long run, I guess, but it's also messed up to Batman in a different way. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, it has a happier ending ultimately.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's maybe why I can't decide.
But in the moment, it somehow bothers me a little more.
Mm-hmm. No,
maybe it's just
that's
because
fair.
I'm more invested in this continuity as a kid than I am in the comics when I finally, come to Jason Todd and take a look at that. So it's maybe unfair to compare them, but I love it thematically because it isn't just the Joker taking Robin away from Batman, it's the Joker changing what Robin is. Mm-hmm. And tell me if my read is going too far when I say this, because this is a complex enough Batman Joker yin yang relationship. The Joker needs Batman, arguably the Batman needs the Joker, all of that, but not as like deconstructed and overly complicated as like Snyder will do it years later in the comics, and as comics typically tend to go now. This is still a Joker that at the end of the day does want Batman dead, and I think it's important to make that distinction, right? That like he wants to play this out. But while he's around, there is still a little bit of that idea of like they do define each other. And so my read is the Joker is proving or trying to prove by making Robin a little Joker and then his long con, his end game, putting his consciousness in Robin, and then years later coming back that way. I'm your real sidekick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of my read on it. Is like you don't need anybody but me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Joker kind of finally laying out that it's just the two of them at the end.
But I don't know if I'm bringing too much from like later comics and things when I say that. That's why I'm hesitating on that read, because it was a thought that I don't know that I'd had before this watch.
And possibly because this is also a version of Joker that is interested in finding out Batman's identity, like we see later on, which isn't something I normally think of in that relationship.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, you're right, because he doesn't happen upon that. He does it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wants to like insert himself in every aspect of Batman's life.
Yeah.
And I think it's effective because it's, again, scarier than killing Robin and scarier than just straight up killing Batman. Like that's ultimately where he wants to get, but not before he's made like that's supposed to be the joke with him is I'm going to turn your life into a parody of itself. And the reason that McGinnis is able to take him down by the end is because he can't. I just love the irony of this. He can't parody something that is not taking him seriously. That's not laughing at him. That is laughing at him. That's the great irony, right? Is that while the Joker sees himself as the funniest man in the room, and nobody else gets to make anybody laugh. Remember, he had that whole thing with Harley Quinn in the cartoon show. Like, you don't make people laugh. That's what I do. He needs Batman to take him seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Batman can't be the one that treats him like a joke.
And so he wants to turn everything else in his world into a joke. But he doesn't actually want to alter Batman, not until like the very last moment. So when he goes up against a Batman that is, in a weird way, too much like him, he cannot deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he sees McGinnis as a fake Batman. But then when the Beyond Batman can take him down at the end, then it makes the audience, most of us anyway, say, okay, I guess he like legitimately has separated himself out. He's really Batman, but a completely different version. And so then the question is, what is it that defines Batman, that makes you Batman? So like we're really kind of flipping the script and like redefining what it means to be Batman with this movie, which is I think what sets it apart from so much else and really puts it over the top for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it makes me buy that at the end.
Mm-hmm. So I think I finally nailed down which is I think worse.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go with Jason Todd, not for the Joker thing though. I think Jason Todd's story is darker through all of Starlin's run as opposed to just a Joker thing. So I'm gonna take it kind of away from that original question and say, Tim Drake in this versus Jason Todd in the comics. I think Jason Todd's worse.
Well, and overall, he's definitely a darker, more tragic character. But what I do really appreciate, yeah. So you're right about that. But just as far as like how the deaths affect, or the
how they affect Batman,
yeah.
But I'm still gonna go with Jason Todd because the whole thing with that right before Killing Joke is that Jason Todd like gets a bunch of people killed and like goes off and murders people, and it's. I think like that's probably worse.
Well, and that's a really good point. I guess I was just talking about like how it affects me in the moment, but like,
part of it too is
his
I'm
basically
about that
becoming.
Too.
I keep saying perversion, but in basically Jason Todd becoming a perversion of Batman, where like, oh no, I've created a monster. Now somebody kind of in my name is going around killing. No, you're right. That is a lot worse.
Yeah, and I think that's what hit me is that I thought about that story right before Death in the Family. It's like 2 issues before it, and I was like, I think that like that haunts me a little bit more when I think about it than this movie does. Like that ending in that book really hit me.
Yeah. Well, and also going with the thing that's freshest in my mind, and I haven't looked at that in a while.
Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
And also I'm not I haven't been super familiar with the PG-13 version, so like seeing this only for a second time, it kind of hit me pretty hard because I had I don't know, weirdly a similar thing that you would with Jason Todd in that like he becomes a killer.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, well, that's probably something we should mention is which version of this do you prefer? Because people have kind of been debating.
So that's what I was about to get to. Yeah, is what I like about this version of it. Oh, can we just for a second talk about how super anime the character model suddenly is for Joker in this scene? And of course it is a Japanese house doing most of the animation for this. And I love how creepy that is. Like I'm not even complaining about it, but this is the scene more than anything else in the movie, I think, where I can really tell it's a Japanese house.
I think you get some of that on Batman as well. Like the way we animate him in this scene is very different than the rest of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
Especially like the close-ups and how we spin around him.
And that's a beautiful shot, which is not in the censored version, by the way. I don't believe.
Interesting. I know the stuff's like very cut down from that. Like I know Joker doesn't stab Batman in that.
Right. And it's not all for violence and language. Like some of it seems kind of arbitrary. We're sort of cutting down for time for no reason. This version is 3 minutes longer.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of that is just tiny little snips out of action and stuff.
Well, and Joker's death, I think, is slightly longer.
It is.
So, like, that would make up for it, too.
Yep.
Or it wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, and of course, completely different. So what I was going to say is, in comparing Tim Drake in this, and I meant to make this point earlier, too, Austin, I really appreciate the choice to make Tim Drake so tragic in this, because people were already comparing him in New Batman Adventures to Jason Todd, that he was like a blend of those two characters, of Tim Drake and Jason Todd. So how cool is it that they kind of found a way to adapt that story?
Yeah, absolutely. And they did it in a way that kind of keeps with this not being allowed to go to some of those places.
Yes. And I also
still make it disturbing.
So I think ultimately I appreciate this version more, but I can make a really great argument for both. Like, I think Tim and his team came up with a really thoughtful way to censor it and change it that is still
Absolutely.
that still works like thematically in a really interesting way. But it's more about so this version is kind of more about how do I want to put this? It's kind of more about Bruce Wayne, and the other version is kind of more about the Joker. And what I mean by that is having him shoot Joker in as the death harkens back to the way Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered. And so it gets again perverse and screwed up, because in its way it's the Joker turning Batman into what he hates the most, because Batman has to watch him shoot a gun to kill his greatest adversary. Mm-hmm. We don't get into it, but that's all implied, right? Like it's all there on the screen. Whereas the electrocution thing is kind of just a fun poetic justice thing when you get to the end, and electrocution is how the Joker goes out at the end. Mm-hmm. So like it's tied to different scenes and different aspects of Batman's past, but I think I also like this version more because it informs, and I guess both versions would to some degree, but especially because it's a gun, I feel like it informs the way Batman quit when you watch the pilot for Beyond retroactively.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've never liked the censored Joker death. I think it's too silly. I don't know.
Where he just leaps at him.
Yeah, it doesn't play for me at all. Like it completely takes away from the kind of horror and trauma that this character has been through. Where he throws the gun down, does his like flying kick at Joker, and then Joker gets electrocuted to death because he just stumbles into whatever it is. I can't even remember.
The vat of something.
Yeah, like to me that's so much like sillier, and just it's very like kiddie in a way, I think, to me. But I like just how like Joker broke this child, and it kind of shows just how horrible it is that realism in a way of like this kid being brought into this world, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's way stronger.
Well, and that he's pushed that far to have to do that in a way that Batman has always managed to avoid.
Mm-hmm. And I like the fact that it forces.
Like I feel
Batman...
like I feel like Bruce's regret is more interesting. Mm-hmm. in not just like he broke Robin, but he turned him into a murderer.
Yeah. And then Batman has to compromise in that, in a way, he's an accomplice for basically covering it up.
That's a good point. Do you wish we talked about any of that, or is it effective that it's just all there and not discussed? I feel like it's very in character for Bruce to never talk about any of it, and I like the implication that there is probably eventually some discussion with him and Barbara and Tim Drake when they close that door at the end. Mm-hmm. But we don't have to see that because the story's not really about that. It's about Terry more than anything. Like everything we're talking about right now is background before it's anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's more subtext. I don't think you need that. I feel like if this were like a live action film and like bumped up to 2 hours as opposed to like an animated straight to DVD thing, you probably would have that. But like I don't need it. Like it doesn't bother me that it's not here.
The red herring walking into his room on the yacht about to have sex with this girl is not in the censored version.
No, of course not.
This whole scene is cut?
Bruce Timm was probably very sad he had to cut his pervy moment out.
We're read a couple more super chats here. Tom, $2 super chat. Strange seeing the red dot eyes for Joker. I like. I like it too.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
If that's what you're saying, if you're saying you like it. I think if, again, I'm not reading too much into it, that maybe the red eyes, is it just red because he's like scarier and more evil than he's ever been, or is that supposed to be a tell that it's technology?
I think it's just supposed to be like a stylized way of kind of showing how evil he is. But you might be onto something that they're...
Because
like
digital and robot stuff in animated series always had red eyes.
Well, that's just like a go-to in fiction, yeah. Absolutely.
Tom, $2 super chat. Roz did a similar thing to Talia. Joker stole it. Stole what? What are we talking about?
I think he's saying that because Ra's al Ghul's brain is in Talia or whatever.
I forgot about that whole thing.
So Tom's throwing out another headcanon of how Joker did it.
I don't really care how he did it. I just need a line that says he didn't invent that, because I don't buy that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like your hang-up is more that should be futuristic technology in the first place.
I think yeah, I have that. But like I said, I feel like I'm also hypocritical because there's stuff like that in the animated series. I don't know. It's weird. And it goes back to like me being a kid. Like I've always thought that, and this satellite technology was just weird. And part of it is just because...
Is it too much of a James Bond plot?
There is definitely that. I mean, it's the satellite thing is Die Another Day.
It is.
We even have the wave.
Dagan Spear says Joker literally says that he stole it. Oh, if that's a line in the movie and I missed it, then that's cool. But yeah, I thought he had to do something to develop it, but...
And I thought there just kind of wasn't really discussion about it. It was just kind of, I did this.
Okay, well, I have less of a problem with it than Austin does then, if he at least says he got it from somewhere else and he didn't come up with it.
Yeah, and I feel like I have more of an issue of it in concept, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
No, it definitely watched hokey the first couple of times I saw it, and I couldn't help but start thinking of like other ways maybe I would do it. But it's one of those things where I think I give it more of a pass because I like it so well thematically. Like I just love the tragedy and the pathos of his again creating his own child out of Tim Drake and then taking him over in saying that like I'm like the true better half of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that idea.
Yeah, and I think I just kind of...
And I think it's a strong reveal that he's been Tim Drake all the time, though I have lots of questions about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I just kind of see it as, well, it's an excuse to make this plot happen, and like whatever, I can look past it. It's fine. This movie's good enough that it doesn't kill the movie for me.
Okay, so this scene,
yeah.
I think you can maybe read it both ways unless I haven't thought it through enough or there's something I'm missing. Tell me how you read this. So it's a big plot point for the detective work, for the mystery, that
the Robin
Joker was there. He destroyed only the Robin suit. And the assumption that McGinnis makes, or the thing he's investigating, is that's because Tim Drake's behind it all, and
he hates Robin.
he's got a beef with Batman, and he destroyed the Robin suit. And then when it's revealed that Joker has been working through Tim Drake's body, I have the question of, okay, why did he really do that? I'm not 100% sure why he destroyed that suit. Like, because Bruce says in this scene, it's because Robin shot him, which is, of course, a different line of the censored version, because, you know, he didn't shoot him. In the censored version, he says he defeated him. Robin defeated him.
Robin defeated him, and he fainted.
Yeah. It starts reading a little bit more like a Silver Age comic.
They should have done the 90s Spider-Man thing and been like, because Robin destroyed him.
So what do you think it is? because I can't tell how much of Tim Drake is still sometimes sort of in the Joker, even though he's not conscious of it.
I think it's supposed to be that Tim Drake is at least subconsciously in Joker, so he destroys the Robin suit. There might be an argument to say that they're maybe both right in that case, but
because
I don't
it's
entirely know. It does feel like
it's a linchpin in the investigation. It kind of reads like if the Joker does it, he's stupid, is the problem, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the tell that gets them on the trail of Tim Drake. If Tim did it subconsciously through the Joker, he intentionally put them on that trail. And then it's smarter.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be the case.
So that's kind of what I want it to be.
But it also, like, if that is the case either way, I feel like it is probably just that Batman villain thing of it's not an intentional thing to get Batman on the case, but they did the thing that puts him on there.
Yeah, it's ambiguous, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I don't know if it knows how ambiguous it is about that.
Yeah.
That's why I have reservations about it. Sam Watson Taylor is a name I don't recognize. Hi there. I think it's the minds of the Joker and Tim Drake in conflict or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is
it might
kind
be
of what I'm saying with like the him being subconsciously.
That's what I want it to be. Dagan Spear says Terry does walk into a trap when he confronts Tim. Oh, that's true too. Okay, so then that would be potentially Joker doing it on purpose to lead him there on purpose.
Yeah, that's true too.
And also, they do seem to be kind of in conflict when Drake is like explaining things to him, and all of a sudden he kind of becomes the Joker in the moment, and the Joker is influencing him mentally before he even physically manifests as the Joker. So yeah, maybe they are like fighting internally constantly.
Although. The first scene where he goes and meets with Tim Drake is after Joker attacks Bruce Wayne, which would have been when he destroyed the Robin suit.
Okay, say that one more time.
Because Terry finds Bruce Wayne attacked by Joker, and he takes the suit back, and then that's when he starts his investigation.
Yes.
And he goes to see Tim Drake. So Joker would have already destroyed the Robin suit by then. Before that. So I don't know that fully makes sense.
Oh,
in terms of like he destroyed the Robin suit to get him to go to this trap. I don't think that lines up.
Because he did that a while back?
Yeah, because he did that a while back.
And they weren't even on the trail of Tim Drake at all yet?
And Batman's already met with him, yeah.
Okay. In the censored version, they add seatbelts in every scene in the Batwing. That's in the Batplane. That's pretty funny.
Have a seatbelt?
Say again?
Does Ace have a seatbelt?
I don't think Ace has a seat. I can't remember. Maybe he does.
So in PG you can't endanger people, but you can endanger animals.
No, maybe he did. I don't recall. Something.
The red look of his Batmobile though on the inside.
It's neat.
It's real cool.
Yeah, it's very Tron.
It is very Tron. You're right. I'm sure they were looking at Tron really heavy with Batman Beyond in general.
Yeah. There's some fun dated things with this in trying to be futuristic, of course. Not that I would expect it to like fully predict, anything in the next 20, 30 years. But I do think it's really funny that like it's the future, so Bruce Wayne has to say he'll be emailing his resume.
At least you didn't say I'll page it.
It's he's going to be faxing his resume. Tom Chilla Super Chat, Tim trying to give Batman a clue maybe. Yeah, we kind of talked over that idea out.
I was showing up to attack Jack Kirby's warehouse.
Yep. The Jolly Jack warehouse.
Yep. Jack Kirby, of course, died by Doomsday. Or not Doomsday, Darkseid. Dan Turpin.
Yes, but then later they did a censored version where he just got electrocuted.
And they were like, oh no, Darkseid defeated Dan Turpin.
Tom, one more super chat. One could argue that Joker wants Batman to know. Yeah, we kind of talked that out. I always forget that all of the Joker gang, the Joker's gang in this movie were made up for this movie, because I've seen this so many more times than most episodes of the TV show. So I always remember it as they're in the show, but
I assumed they were from the show too.
They're not. They're all created for this.
I had a Mandela effect
because
I thought they were in the pilot and he fought this gang.
When I think of, and see, I always thought at least one or two of them were, but like Bruce Timm is talking in his commentary about how hard it was to come up with all new Jokers because they'd had so many different ones visually, and I was like, wait, they're all new. Mm-hmm. And it's been a while since I've been through the show. I have watched the whole series because I did a top 10 on it years ago, but I mean, it's been probably 10 years since I did that.
Yeah, I had a Mandela effect then because I thought in the pilot he fought the gang.
Something else they bring up in that commentary that I hadn't thought of before. Bruce Timm's fun to listen to because he will criticize his own work and bring up plot holes and things, which is great. And they talk in that. That's him and Paul Dini and one of the other producers. I can't remember who, but anyway, they talk about how somehow Terry McGinnis cleans up the Batcave very quickly after the Joker breaks in and writes the Haas everywhere. Like, he's cleaned all that up and then looks over and goes, hey, wait a minute, he only destroyed the one suit. That's weird.
Bruce Wayne wakes up and he's like, really? You cleaned all of the evidence? This is why you're not a detective.
Hey, there's another big question I had for you, and another place where I'm just wondering if I missed something. Mm-hmm. How does Joker know about Terry McGinnis? Because he knows Bruce is Batman, and we know why that is. Mm-hmm. He sees Terry in the Batsuit before we know that he knows that Terry is Batman, but then he later on just sicks his goons on Terry out of the Batsuit, and I don't actually really know how he knows that.
Does he maybe get that info from Barbara? Because I think he meets with Barbara before that, but then we don't get like a full scene with them. So maybe he got that from them, from her?
Do you mean because Tim Drake went to see her?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, that would do it.
Maybe we should have had a line there.
Yeah, maybe so, because I wasn't totally sure if that's what it was. And I also don't always know what Joker knows, but is the idea that he knows everything Tim Drake knows?
I imagine so, because he's in his brain. I imagine that whenever Drake is around, like, Joker can, like, actively see what's happening.
Because he also uses his know-how.
Yeah. I imagine that when Joker's not in control, it's not how he describes Tim Drake when he's in control, where like he's just kind of asleep. I imagine Joker's kind of always awake and like always seeing what Tim Drake's seeing.
Well, and you've got evidence for that, Austin, by the fact that he seems to just be able to take control when he needs to. Mm-hmm. And so exactly. why would he have taken control right now if he wasn't able to pay attention to what was happening? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me ask you this question. Riddle me this. By the way, I love the smiley face thing. That like the chip just happens to make a smiley face.
Be a smile.
And then the like map where he's trying to destroy things, he makes a smiley face in it. And the map is great because it's like, here's a dot and a dot, and we're gonna destroy these two places, and then there's this place down here we're gonna destroy, and then I don't know, smile. A perfect pattern. I don't know. I think it's great.
Yeah, no, that's fun.
But I wanted to ask you this question. Mm-hmm. do you, because this is another thing this it has in common with Mask of the Phantasm, at about the same place runtime-wise, I bet, you have a big revelation about identity. And it's that I just thought of this. This is how similar it is. It's that a major supporting character from Batman's past that he used to be like very close to, that he's been estranged from, that has just come back into his life in some way, turns out to be the bad guy all along, in some way or another. It's not exactly the same thing, but a lot of similarities between Tim Drake and Andrea Beaumont. Which do you think is the more surprising reveal and the more satisfying reveal?
I think Phantasm, because I like the mystery of Phantasm better. But I don't think this is bad. I think Phantasm has a better red herring, so like that makes it more satisfying. So I'm gonna go with that.
I think I agree with you at the end of the day too. It is funny that both of them have a silly kind of comic-y conceit. They're both doing impossible things that you just have to roll with.
Yeah.
Like Phantasm is able to just kind of teleport everywhere, and every time you have the mist, and then she can just show up anywhere she wants to show up. And with this, you have this impossible technology where he's able to, where the Joker's actual body is able to take over Tim Drake's body. Mm-hmm. You do kind of have two conceits.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because that part doesn't bother me. Like, I find the chip maybe is a little bit too much, but like the fact that his body just turns into Joker, I think is fine.
No, I don't actually have a problem with that either. I'm forcing this point because it's cool that I can make it.
Well, and the Phantasm things never bothered me either, where she's just a slasher villain.
No, that one does bother me.
No, I know it bothers you. It's never bothered me.
The bigger one is that lady is able to push that huge like monument in the gravesite.
Yeah. I mean, I believe in empowerment, so.
Oh, okay. Look, I don't care how many martial arts classes she's had. It's not gonna make her strong enough to do that.
You see, what you didn't see is that she put a jack under it, and it's like this really awkward scene where she's just like pumping the jack to make it tilt and fall.
AMC, for me, this is the better mystery. The only alternative for Phantasm was her father.
Yeah, but I don't think this really has an alternative because
there were two though. There was her father, and then there was the guy that was trying to date her. He was the bigger MacGuffin, or at least early on he's made to be not MacGuffin. Made to be the red herring.
Red herring, and this one the only red herring is the other Mark Hamill, but I don't think it's developed enough. Like, there's never a part where
I never thought it was him.
Established that, yeah.
And like, it comes off like you're supposed to think that, but I'm like, it's not going to be that guy.
He's a red herring for meta reasons before he is for plot.
Yes, exactly.
Like, Batman never thinks that he's possibly the Joker.
No, that's true. But yeah, I can see AMC why you're saying that's the better mystery. I guess with this,
for here it's more of a mystery of just how he's back.
Yes.
Before it's
who
it
that's
is.
the thing, is it's not really a who is it kind of question. It's more like Tim Drake is clearly involved in some way, and I think for me the mystery is more in. And what makes it kind of disturbing and where I'm really walking on eggshells with it is, oh God, how far under the bus are we going to throw this character?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you get to the end of this and Tim Drake is not completely vilified? Now, that's another question is, can you imagine an inevitability where you would have actually been okay with Tim Drake having just been driven insane, and he actually is the Joker, and it's not the real Joker, it's him thinking that he is or something?
Well, I was going to mention that too. I actually forgot about it. I'm glad you mentioned this.
Yeah, I almost forgot to bring that up too.
That's what Dark Knight Strikes Back does, because Dick Grayson's the Joker in that.
I haven't read that in so long.
Yeah, Dick Grayson's the main villain by the
Or
end
Strikes
of that
Again? You said Strikes Back, I think.
Oh yeah, sorry, Strikes Again. Yeah. Yeah, the Dark Knight Strikes Back.
That's the yeah, that's the sequel to Dark Knight Returns that brings in the Justice League, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think Batman kills Dick Grayson by the end of that. Or I think Dick Grayson at least dies, but...
So the thing is, that's an alternate continuity thing, so like it or not, Miller can kind of do whatever he wants, and you might not be as invested in it. But this being like a kind of definitive Batman thing that is supposed to be, you know, it's definitely its own continuity from the comics, obviously, but like it's a lot of people's, you know, favorite kind of definitive Batman continuity. I don't know if they could have gotten away with that, and it would have made the movie even more dark and relentless than it already is.
Well, and Miller didn't really get away with that either, because everybody hated that.
That's true. People didn't like that.
So yeah, I don't think people would have been happy if Tim Drake was in any way involved with this, actually.
So you don't think it's at all a cheat that he comes out as unscathed as he does by the end? And I'm not saying it is. I'm just wondering, like if there's any part of you that would have preferred, you know, instead of the kind of hokey microchip thing, like Tim Drake actually there's not really any sci-fi shenanigans. Because there's a part of me that would love to see if I could have been won over on it.
I'll say I don't think I would have minded if we went that far, to be honest. And part of me is because I already look at this as like an alternate continuity thing too, so it's like I wouldn't bother me.
You're saying like you could just stop at you know, the end of New Adventures and not bother with Batman Beyond, and then you don't have to worry about Tim Drake turns out to be bad. Oh, the censored version felt the need to give elderly Harley Quinn a red coat and a black dress so that you would know for sure that it's Harley Quinn.
I thought you were gonna say it cut her spanking them.
No, okay. She's just weird. Wearing Harley's colors.
Yeah. How do you feel about elderly Harley? If you feel anything, judging by that reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a major opinion about it. It felt like an obligatory thing.
That's
because
my thing with it, yeah.
You don't want to tick off the Harley Quinn fans. The real reason it was done was because Paul Dini can't kill his darlings, and literally, and Dini. So he was apparently kind of forced by Bruce Timm to drop Harley in the ravine. He didn't want to do it. He's like, oh, don't make me kill her. Apparently, he, like, cried on the phone to him about it. And then later he added in the script, before they were storyboarding, that she
comes back as an elderly.
She comes back at the end, and he was shocked that Tim didn't make him take it out.
I think for me, like, it's obligatory, like, it's whatever. But, like, if you're going to do it, I want a scene with her and the Joker. Like, I think it's worse that they just do it like that, where it's very cutesy. Like, I want the scene where she
That's fair.
interacts with the Joker coming back. Like, I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, how does she feel about all this now?
Yeah.
And her place in it. Mm-hmm. Because she obviously did some really horrible things. She was the mom in that relationship. Mm-hmm. I just want to say real quick how much I appreciate McGinnis's arc, and it could have come off really sappy, and it doesn't. And even Bruce kind of spelling out what he's learned at the end, I don't think is too spelling it out. where he goes, it isn't because he needs McGinnis to know where he stands with him now, so it feels like it's in character and it comes from his POV naturally, where he says it's not the suit that makes you worthwhile, it's the other way around. And so the big thing Terry McGinnis has to learn is he doesn't have to be on a road to redemption path anymore. He has redeemed himself. And more than that, he's not just a surrogate stand-in for Batman anymore. He is his own Batman. And what Bruce has to learn is I can let him make his own decisions. And if something horrible happens, maybe it isn't on me. It's not the same thing as I recruited a Robin and maybe he was too young and naive and may or may not have been ready for this yet. Yeah, Tim Drake made his own decisions too, but I love the line that McGinnis has early on where he says, look, like, I'm the one that broke in and took the suit. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, it was my choice. And it helps too that Terry McGinnis is probably like 18, 19, like he's like at the end of his teens.
He is still in high school, I think.
Okay, so
but he's probably a senior. He's no younger than 17.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Tim Drake's like 8.
Yeah, he looks like he's like 10 or 11.
Really young. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that helps too.
Yeah, like Batman has every reason to question his choices. And that's the thing that they most took, I think, from the Jason Todd death in the comics, is just like rethinking his whole MO with that, and like, why did I put a child in danger? And
you know what's interesting?
With McGinnis, it's so different because he can't even do the job anymore.
Mm-hmm. But you know what it is?
Yeah,
is Tim Drake becomes Jason Todd and Terry McGinnis becomes Tim Drake, right? Because Tim Drake is the one that is like abused, and it's Batman kind of realizing like, oh my god, what did I do with this? And then you have Terry McGinnis that's the one coming in and being like, no, like, I can do this, like, this is why you need me.
Yeah, the only kind of wrinkle in that
it's just that he's like, you lose the Robin aspect, but it's...
Well, no, what I was going to say is, the only wrinkle in that analogy is that there's a little Jason Todd in his background also.
Yeah, no, that is true.
With McGinnis, because he was a punk kid, like a punk street kid in the first place. Mm-hmm. And Tim Drake wasn't like that.
Yeah, everyone's a mixed metaphor.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's Jason Todd except for Dick Grayson. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and read a few audience questions that we got ahead of time that I didn't do during the show, because we got so wrapped up in our discussion and analysis that I wasn't really able to get to these. We'll try not to spend more than about 5 minutes on this, and then we'll go ahead and give our ratings and bid you guys adieu. And again, if you're watching live, we are going to come back and do another one in a few minutes. So, let me find the one I was talking about real quick. Okay, let me just read these down because I'm not finding the one I was about to read, but I'm sure it's in here. So I'll just start at the bottom and work my way up. Code Geass Anime Fan, do you think that Return of the Joker would be so beloved if it didn't have the flashbacks between Joker and the Bruce Wayne version of Batman? I rarely hear people talk about the rest of the film. That's actually a really interesting question.
So, the flashback stuff, as I said earlier, is the stuff in this film that I maybe not relate to. That's probably a bad choice of words, but it's the stuff that I've always been drawn to the most. At the same time, I can't see a version of this film without that. It changes too much of the story. Like, you can't really divorce them. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that have the same thing I do, where they watch it and like that is the big thing. The big highlight that they walk away with.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just a dull, generic, typical Batman story without that. Like, it plays as, necessary background to inform the story that's being told. It still is McGinnis' story before it's anything. And, at least to me, and maybe part of it is I also really like Batman Beyond, and I like that character. But like he's right in that what people talk about most is the flashback scene. I think that's because A, it was shocking and violent, and B, it got changed in a censored version. And when there's another cut like that some people have seen and other people haven't, that is typically what people end up talking about.
That and Batman the Animated Series is the more beloved of the two shows, and it's kind of a finale for that in a way.
So, yeah, if you didn't have those flashbacks and you didn't actually see Tim Drake become the Joker kid, like, that is what puts it over the top, because again, it's so disturbing and it's such a risk. Like you don't expect that is the most memorable thing in it. So would it be as beloved, like, if we just talked about it but we didn't see that? Maybe not. I think it would still be remembered. I think it would still be really well liked. Like, if everything else is the same. Mm-hmm. If you still have exactly the same, again, sort of dual protagonist story between McGinnis and Bruce Wayne, and you still have the Joker coming back the same way for the same reasons, you just don't show that flashback. Yeah, maybe not as beloved, maybe not quite as remembered, but like,
it's just a weaker movie like that. That's why I'm having a hard time even wrapping my head around like what that would even look like, because I feel like it's too integral. Where like if it's just said in passing, like, as opposed to being shown.
Is there a version of this story, and it would be a different story, so maybe I shouldn't put it that way, but is there a movie that you could have made that would be, again, maybe a little bit more like Red Hood, that is all about the, like, just post Batman animated series and seeing that happen, and does not utilize Beyond at all? Like, is there a way to do that?
Yeah, I think so. I think you could have made a movie just out of that. Yeah, it's weird because I feel like you can take that and make it into a movie, but I can't see the Beyond film without that middle part.
No, I think
it's too integral.
No, I think you're winning me over on this argument. And I think, again, that was a really interesting question, because a lot of what fascinated people about this movie and made them want to watch it was people had a lot of questions about what happens after New Adventures. Like, Bruce Timm said part of the reason they made the movie was because the number one question he would get from people is, what happened to Robin? You've got this young Robin. We saw Dick Grayson become Nightwing. What happens with Robin? The question that I forget who asked it, and I'll credit it when I find it, but while I'm thinking about it, the question I was looking for was, somebody asked where we think, like, Nightwing is now, and if Dick Grayson is still Nightwing, because Barbara Gordon refers to him a couple times as Nightwing, and like in present tense. And at first, when I read that question, maybe AMC asked it. At first, I thought that he was reading too far into it until I watched the movie again. And it's true. There's one place where she says,
just look up Nightwing.
Well, what I was going to say is, before that, there's a place where she says Dick Grayson and then says Nightwing. And I thought that was the only place where he was mentioned. But then later she says, look up Nightwing, which does maybe suggest that he's still operating.
Mm-hmm. So, that was the sense that I got.
Yeah, probably so.
Mm-hmm.
And he would be, what, like 60?
Yeah. Maybe
55?
he's got his own Terry McGinnis now.
He broke in and he stole the Nightwing suit.
Yeah, exactly. I just had a breakthrough on would this film work without the flashback stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe an argument that you could have done like a two-parter thing where the flashback thing is a movie and then you have the Beyond movie as a thing. I think that's the only way I could see this without that.
Oh, that's interesting. Where like you flesh it out in another thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Where like there's this real mysterious thing that happened in the past that you're itching to find out about after that movie, and then they make that movie.
Mm-hmm.
This was an idea I had too, and I'm not saying I would have necessarily liked this anymore, but some people in the comments were were talking about again the idea that maybe there was a more plausible or interesting way to bring the Joker back. I Do you think there could have been? Again, I'm not rewriting the thing. This would have been a completely different direction, different take. But do you think there could have been an angle where the Joker survives his death somehow? Because after all, he always does.
He's the Joker, yeah.
When Batman's like, "Oh no, this is impossible," because he got shot. I'm like, yeah, it looked pretty definitive, but what about all those times he fell from a high place and couldn't possibly have survived?
That's probably worse than being shot.
Yeah, I would think, because okay, you have a body there, but like, you never know. Like Harley Quinn, well, I mean, she fell down from a high place and shouldn't have survived that either. But like, somebody could have gotten his body and taken him to some villain hospital and healed him. I don't know, like something could have happened. Could you have done a version of this where he's elderly and like it's a Joker in his 80s? And the parody is not of Robin or of Batman, but of McGinnis, where he has his own Joker beyond.
Well,
and you,
I was actually
introduce a new character that's Terry McGinnis's new arch nemesis. Could you have done that story?
Yeah, I think you definitely could. That's interesting that you say that, because I think Dini was maybe looking to do that with Arkham. Because Arkham City has both a setup for Batman having a son and Joker having a kid.
Oh, that's right. I didn't think of that.
So I absolutely think you could have done that.
Let me read through the rest of these questions here. Bill Mills, would you rank Batman Beyond Return of the Joker as a seminal Joker story, like Dark Knight, Killing Joke, Dark Knight Returns, Laughing Fish, Batman, White Knight, the Joker's arc in Gotham Central, Soft Targets, Batman 826, Sleigh Ride by Paul Dini? I don't know what that is, by the way. Is it a seminal Joker story?
I'm going to say no, but there's also things on that list I would also say no to, and there's things that I think are missing on it. But also part of it is maybe because it's like a movie and not a comic for me. Like, that might be the reason. I don't know.
Yeah, but like, I consider Arkham City a kind of seminal Batman story, and it's not in comics.
No, and that is true too. But like, I don't consider Dark Knight as like a seminal Joker story, and I probably should, but like, I don't think about it that way.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, this is gonna sound like a really strange thing to say. Obviously, the Joker-Batman relationship in this is interesting, and you have to have him, in order to have this film. But I think him as a catalyst for the progression that happens with the Bruce Terry relationship is what I'm most here for. And second to that is just the insanity of the flashback and how audacious that is. But not just shock for the sake of shock, like it's thematically fascinating and a really cool direction to go. But I like this as much of a continuation of the TV show and taking that to new heights as I do it as a standalone movie. It's wonderful that it works both ways. I've always appreciated this with big event things that are part of a greater series. For instance, like Once More with Feeling, the musical episode of Buffy. Like, people love that as a fun one-off thing, but it has the most important plot point of the whole season that like massively changes the trajectory of the story. So like, I know lots of people that have not watched a lot of Buffy that love that as a standalone thing and have no idea what's happening with the greater arc of it, but it's also super important for the greater arc. It's really cool when something can find that sweet spot where people don't have to know what's going on to appreciate it, but if you do, there's this whole other layer to it. That's what's great about this movie. So I like it much more as a Batman Beyond thing than a Joker thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I mean, they mentioned Dark Knight Returns as well. Like, Dark Knight Returns is a seminal Batman story. It is 1/4 a seminal Joker story. So I wouldn't put it in a list of like the best Joker stories because it's kind of like
Yeah.
not really.
No, I agree with that. I never think about the Joker when I think of Dark Knight Returns. I think of Two-Face before I think of the Joker with Dark Knight Returns.
Which is funny because I was gonna say it's more of a seminal Joker thing than Two-Face or Superman or original villain.
No, admittedly.
But yeah, absolutely.
Bag Studios, the only thing about Return of the Joker that I don't care for is the premise. He likes everything else. He just doesn't like, you know, the idea. I wish there was a more clever way to bring Joker in without, in my opinion, feeling too science fiction. Yeah, this is what we were responding to a minute ago, but I couldn't remember where the question was. Yes, Beyond is sci-fi, but the flashbacks, by necessity, being in TAS era, make the premise seem a bit too outlandish, so he agrees with you. Still an excellent film regardless, but I wondered if you had any ideas on how else they could have managed it. Well, I threw out my notion of the Joker is elderly and he has his own Batman, but that's a completely different story.
When I didn't think about that in terms of this, but I've always been really interested to see like what an Arkham version of that would be. So when you like move it to this, like yeah, I would love to see that.
Carl Maxey, if there was another Batman Beyond movie, what Terry-centered story would you want to explore, and which villains would you want to include? I'm torn between Shriek, Inc., and Spellbinder. First of all, I'll start with the second thing. Shriek, all day long. Shriek was always my favorite Batman Beyond villain.
It's just because of Carnage.
Do you know about Shriek? Well, we did that.
No, because
we did a marathon and I showed you a Shriek episode, but I don't know if you remember it.
I don't remember offhand.
Shriek's the guy, I think that's his name, right? That has the like sound hands. He's got these big gloves that make like waves of sound.
Oh, okay.
And
it's kind of like Claw.
And they do this cool thing in his first episode where all of the sound drops out from the episode for like 30 straight seconds in this huge fight scene with all this crazy stuff going on, but the vibration of like the world has been turned off basically, so we don't hear any of it. And I'd love to see a movie where they take that further and they do like a 5-minute sequence like that. Like, I always thought that would be super cool.
Since I don't know anything about Batman Beyond, I'm gonna go to an old Batman villain and say Killer Croc. And Terry McGinnis's arc would be learning that he doesn't want to be eaten by a giant crocodile.
As far as what a story with Batman Beyond would be, I feel like the most kind of, you know, exciting and surprising thing you could do would be to like finally kill off Bruce Wayne.
I was gonna say that too.
And
yeah,
then
that is like the most obvious place to
make Terry have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. With, you know, living without him.
He could be eaten by Killer Croc in my version, or he could be hit with a giant rock.
AMC wanted to know which cut we preferred, and I think we both landed on this one, right?
Oh, this one all day and night. And maybe that is because I'm more familiar with it. But like I said, I like the...
I mean, that's not me. I'm more familiar with the other one, and I like this a lot more. And I'm glad that I finally got to see all the scenes that were added back in, because there was a lot more than I thought. I always thought it was just the death, but it's not. There's more than that.
Well, this is like the Killing Joke color thing, apparently, because Harley is red and black in that other version.
He says, I personally still prefer the edited one that beat the original uncut version TV, both for better matching the tone and level of violence expected for these versions at the time, as well as its handling of the Joker's death. And he's got a big, long comment that I don't have time to read the rest of.
Oh, yeah, but I did read that. His whole thing was that he likes that Tim Drake kind of like beat that programming, and that bit of Batman's training kind of came back, and he doesn't kill the Joker. But I actually like it for the exact opposite reason. I like that the trauma hits him, and he kind of can't escape that.
When he says he likes the anticlimactic way in which Joker goes out with the electrocution, giving the Joker, he says, a better reason to feel the need to return is not going out in some grand battle with Batman. But the thing is, it wasn't Batman that killed him, so it works both ways.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I just think the
When he says
electrocution
it's
thing's
not
too silly.
funny, it's because, again, like, he's supposed to make all the jokes, and it wasn't Batman that killed him. So, like, the funny way for him to die would be Batman taking him completely seriously and his finally forcing him into that confrontation and changing Batman as he dies. That would be the, how this doesn't exactly do that for him.
Yeah, and it's not funny because at the end of the day, he's the butt of the joke in that scene.
Yes. That's probably more what it is than the convoluted artsy fartsy thing I just said. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up here. Let me make sure that there's not any other super chats that I've missed here, because I think there might have been. Tom, another $5 super chat. The only time they're in the show, this is a long time ago, I'm not sure what he's talking about, is in the JLU episode Once and Future Thing Part 2. I'm not sure what things we were talking about at that point, so apologies.
Sorry, I was looking to see, just in case if anybody put a tweet length review. What was the super chat?
He just said the only time they are in the show is in the JLU episode Once and Future Thing Part 2.
Oh, I don't know, because I'm not familiar enough with that show either.
Yeah, it's been too long. We are not able to read these in real time often enough. 5590ERS, you guys should do a commentary on Red Hood, maybe one on Dark Knight Returns as well. We will eventually, absolutely. And Dark Knight Returns, I've not done anything on since it came out, so that will.
What, Batmania?
Oh no, that's true. I guess all of these things I did on Batmania, except for anything that came out after that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to do both of those. Those are both great.
That is true.
And Dark Knight Returns is a movie is 1/3 or 1/4 a seminal Joker.
Oh, folks in the comments are saying he's talking about the Jokers that were invented for this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I gotcha.
But yeah, that they don't actually show up in the show. I mean, that's a credit to this. Like, they're more distinctive than any of the other Jokers. So I always think of them as the Jokers, but they're only in this for the most part. So that's really funny. Real quick, I mentioned epilogue earlier. One of the reasons I've never liked the idea of Terry McGinnis as a clone of Bruce Wayne. Yeah, thanks, Tom. You put another super chat telling us the thing that we just found out about. Yeah, appreciate it. Anyway, one of the reasons I don't like the idea of Terry McGinnis as a clone of Batman is because I think it undercuts the point this movie is making about him. And the arc he goes through, that, like, if ultimately it's just you have to be blood family of Bruce Wayne to take up the mantle, how does that not undercut what he accomplishes here?
I also don't like that you can clone Bruce Wayne and make Peter Parker. And I get that he has a different upbringing, but, like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that idea.
Yeah, I just don't know what purpose it serves beyond just being, like, crazy soap opera. Oh my God, he's literally Bruce Wayne's son. Like,
yeah, it's like a cutesy thing where it's, that was the reason all along.
Anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap up things now. We somehow have turned a commentary on a 70-minute movie into almost 2 hours, but thanks for being with us. We're going to come back in about 10 to 15 minutes and do another one on Superman Doomsday. So I know it's real late in the evening, into night now, but if you're so inclined and you're watching live right now, pop on back in. And otherwise, if you're watching this after the fact, you'll already be able to go listen to that other commentary. Austin, where is your ranking for this movie, sir?
Okay, you're gonna have to remind me. I was thinking about this today. I know it's out of 5. What are the things?
Okay, so at the very bottom is Nemesis.
Okay, yeah, so Nemesis.
And then it's Supervillain.
Okay.
And then it's Hero, right in the middle. And then it's Superhero, and then it's Legend.
Okay, I'm gonna be a bad guy, and I'm gonna give it a Hero.
Just a Hero.
Yeah, and I think I.
Wow, I'm actually surprised by that.
Yeah, and I think I had a really good viewing.
I think you're gonna think differently about that after some other things we watch later.
Probably.
particularly in the animated sphere.
But also, like, yeah, no, you're probably right. I mean, okay, but when we get to a point, Cap, in
You're
every animated film
sorry.
is
I'm not trying to
Nemesis.
sway you. I just think it's gonna be really funny later on. But yeah. So you give it. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I'm just saying when we get to every other animated film and they're all Nemesis, okay?
Austin can be a little all or nothing sometimes. I mean, I say that he
No.
went middle of the road, but you went middle of the road for Return of the Joker.
Okay, so it's either a high hero or a low superhero, and that's why I'm torn. I'm like, I don't know.
And we don't do
So,
0.5s here, son.
I know. So I gave it a 2.5 on Letterboxd out of 5 last night, and I
Okay.
think you bumped me up to a 3.
Okay. But yeah, that would still be somewhere between a hero and a superhero, wouldn't
That's
it?
what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm gonna say a high hero.
Okay.
I'm the villain. I'm sorry.
Austin is the villain of the story. I sit somewhere between a superhero and a legend with this one. It's always been one of my favorite animated Batman movies. I don't remember what I gave it on Superhero Rewind back in the day. Of course, I'm basing this on my most recent viewings with things, and this version is better than, the version that I dealt with earlier that I'm sure I gave at least a 3.5 to. So, so it's tough. Like I think the hokier stuff and like the satellite beam and just like the Joker's like main plot at the end is the one big thing that would take it further down from Legend, and I still don't think it's quite as tight as Mask of the Phantasm. Which definitely will stay at Legend status for me, but I think I'm gonna have to just say superhero. I don't think I can quite get to Legend with it.
Yeah, for me at this point, it's the Suicide Squad '89, Return of the Joker.
Yeah,
and then possibly something else underneath that. We'll see.
Yeah, and we'll start doing straight up rankings after we have a few more movies, I think.
Yeah.
And we'll start showing our letterboxes again. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I'm seeing superheroes and legends in the comments.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm the villain. Noah says hashtag fire Austin. I say hashtag restore the solo rewind.
Wait, who said that?
Noah just said hashtag fire Austin, but I'm adding to that and saying hashtag restore the solo rewind.
You want to fire yourself?
You need to restore the solo verse.
No, this is way more fun, especially watching you squirm like that. That's the best part. All right, folks, we really appreciate you. Thanks a lot for watching. And as always, if I want to say thanks a ton to our patrons. I almost forgot to do this, Austin. If you would like to become a Patreon producer at the $10 tier, that will get you your name read at the end of each episode. You get to talk with me in the Discord and hang out with us once a month, sometimes watching superhero movies, sometimes just talking about them, and lots of other cool perks. Patreon.com/Geekvolution is how you do that. And thanks to all of our patrons, as always, but I want to, real quick, individually thank all of our $10 patrons and above. As soon as I get the, I'm stalling here. As soon as this page loads for me, awesome. We got to turn right around and do another one, man.
See, all I'm thinking about right now is how I'm gonna get egged when we hit Batman and Robin, and I give that a superhero.
I mean, I don't have to understand it. I can just accept it. It's fine. All right. Thanks a bunch to David Crabtree, one reply, Bill Mills, Chewbacca's lover, Elliot Slater, Gooster123, Hayden Spring, Joe Turner, Joshua Gilisano, Matt Bat68, Michael Martin, SS Jerry, Super Billy, Thomas Edchill, Adam March, Checkers, The Inventor, Damon Begay, Hot Soup, Jacob Schneider, Jonathan Campbell, Justin Hayes, Kareem Roberts, Matthew Brody, Michael Austin Gulick, Miguel Rodriguez. This guy, the Day Ghost, he's still on this list. Unknown passenger, Wendell Jones, and Zach. You guys are wonderful. You guys watching live are wonderful. And thanks also, as always, for watching after the fact. And I will see you again real soon for another one. And for some of you guys, really soon for another one. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin, the Day Ghost.
There we go. You didn't say it with enough gusto in the list, but there you go. You got it. You got it.
Have I redeemed myself now?
Yeah, you got there.
The Day Ghost. Oh my god, I think I broke him.
Oh, that's sad.
Whoa! Sorry, if you're just listening, you have no idea what's happening right now. No, I got him. He's good.
Okay.
He's good.
I was gonna say that's like the Riddler cane breaking in
Yeah.
Mania.
No, that would be. I've got a Batman figure here, a Batman Beyond figure here on like a stick thing, and you push the button and he flaps his wings. And I've had this for like, I don't know, 25 years probably. It would be really unfortunate if I broke that on camera. Anyway, we'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan. This is Austin. Thanks, folks. Bye, everybody.
See ya.